Hello, and thank you for listening to this episode of the Moore's October Rants. Today's episode is going to be titled, I Am Allowed to Have an Opinion. Every now and then, we encounter people who can't handle differing opinions. And while disagreements are natural, they often escalate in ways that feel unnecessarily hostile. It's one thing to say, I don't agree with you, and another to try to silence someone outright or insist that their opinion is invalid. We're all entitled to our own perspectives, whether or not they align with someone else's. What's baffling is when people take it upon themselves to shut down others' viewpoints just because they don't agree. I see this a lot online, where people seem to believe they hold the monopoly on correct opinions. But isn't the beauty of living in a free society the ability to express ourselves, even when others don't like what we have to say? This dynamic is especially evident on platforms like Reddit, where conversations quickly devolve into debates and sometimes outright fights over opinions. For instance, I recently saw a post where a woman was asking for men's thoughts on whether they found overly sexualized behavior in women unattractive. I chimed in with my perspective, saying that I think being overly sexual, regardless of gender, can be unappealing. I explained that society is already oversaturated with sexual imagery, and it's exhausting. Then someone swooped in to inform me that my opinion was wrong because, in their view, sex isn't marketed as much as it used to be. Rather than engage in an endless back and forth, I simply told her we could agree to disagree. But she didn't stop, so I blocked her. Uh, why waste energy arguing over an opinion? It's not like I claim my thoughts were hard facts. Opinions are, by definition, subjective. This interaction highlighted a broader issue. Some people don't just disagree, they try to delegitimize opinions entirely. Saying, I don't like your opinion, is one thing. Telling someone your opinion is wrong, or worse, you're not allowed to have an opinion, is another. Opinions can't be wrong because they're personal interpretations, not universal truths. For example, I could say I think the moon looks green sometimes. It's my opinion. That doesn't make it a fact, nor does it invite someone to correct me. Yet, online spaces are filled with people who feel compelled to turn every disagreement into a battle to prove themselves superior. What's even more frustrating is the hypocrisy. People love to preach freedom of speech, yet they're quick to undermine that very principle when they encounter an idea they dislike. True freedom means accepting that people will say things you disagree with, even things that sound ridiculous. I might strongly oppose someone's opinion, but I'll still defend their right to express it. Unfortunately, many people don't understand this balance. They confuse freedom of speech with the freedom to control others' narratives, and that's where the problem lies. This lack of mutual respect is a big reason why online spaces can feel so toxic. Conversations often aren't about exchanging ideas or learning from one another. They're about one-upping, shaming, and silencing. And let's not pretend this is just an online phenomenon. In real life, people are often more cautious, but that's only because they can't hide behind a keyboard. Online, people are emboldened by anonymity and the ability to block or mute others, which gives them a false sense of power. This dynamic makes meaningful conversations harder to achieve because people are too focused on winning rather than understanding. But here's the thing, disagreement doesn't have to be disrespectful. If someone said, I see your point, but have you considered this perspective? I'd be open to that. It's not about being right or wrong, it's about broadening horizons. The problem arises when someone starts with, you're wrong, or worse, attacks you personally for holding a certain view. That's when I check out of the conversation. Life's too short to argue with people who aren't interested in genuine dialogue. What's ironic is that I recently made a point in another discussion about how people are too opinionated these days, and I still stand by that. Sometimes people do share unsolicited thoughts on everything, even when it's unnecessary. But doesn't mean we should silence opinions altogether. There's a balance to be struck. Share your thoughts, sure, but also know when to step back and let others have the floor. Just because you disagree doesn't mean you need to shut someone down. The internet, by its nature, is a breeding ground for these conflicts. It's a space filled with ideas, debates, and arguments. And that's not inherently bad. Discussion is how we grow and challenge our thinking. But when it devolves into name calling and you're wrong, I'm right rhetoric, it stops being productive. Platforms have introduced tools like comment disabling and user blocking for this very reason. These aren't about silencing others, they're about preserving your peace. You're not taking away someone's freedom of speech by choosing not to engage with them. You're exercising your own freedom to set boundaries. As the holidays approach, this topic feels particularly relevant. Family gatherings often spark debates over politics, religion, or other sensitive issues, especially around the dinner table on Thanksgiving or Christmas. These moments remind me of how deeply opinions can divide people, even loved ones. It's one thing to debate in a healthy, respectful way, but too often these conversations turn into shouting matches or grudges. The holidays are supposed to bring people together, yet they often highlight how poorly we handle differences. At the end of the day, I'm not going to stop sharing my opinions just because someone doesn't like them. And I don't expect others to stop sharing theirs either. The key is respect. You don't have to agree with me, but you do have to respect my right to hold and express my thoughts. That's the foundation of a free democracy, and it's what makes conversations worth having. Disrespecting someone's opinion says more about your character than theirs. So, what's the takeaway here? People will always disagree. Some will be respectful about it, and others won't. But you don't have to engage with everyone, especially those who come at you with hostility. Set your boundaries, stand by your principles, and use the tools available to protect your peace. At the same time, don't let the fear of judgment stop you from speaking your truth. After all, if we all silenced ourselves, we'd lose the very essence of what makes us human, our ability to think, feel, and express ourselves freely. Anyways, thank you for listening to this episode of the Moore's October Rants. Signing out. Have a good one, guys. Goodbye for now.